Tell me some of your thoughts on that and how treating your trade shows like a campaign is beneficial.
That is critical, right? So when the best advice I could say is think like the CMO, right? Think like a marketer. And they see an event or a trade show as a single tactic in a full mix of different touches they have to reach and engage with that audience. And while events and trade shows tend to be the largest line item of a budget, just because that's what it costs to execute them, they are also not necessarily as important as all the other things in their campaign, right? So when you think about trade shows, think about it as a point in time. At least that's how most people think about it. Think of it from there to points over time, right? So there are different events that have different purposes in your event portfolio. There are some events that are designed as top of funnel events, a trade show to collect leads or a speaking opportunity to drive awareness of your brand or your products or solutions would be top of funnel activities. Events can also be mid funnel activities where you're trying to drive conversion or drive more consideration. And that can happen at the same event, but it would be in customer conversations that are happening in a meeting room at the same event, right? You're trying to move somebody who already was aware and already in your pipeline a little bit further down the pipeline by having a deeper conversation about what their specific needs were, how your company can come to the table with the right solutions for them, and that sort of thing. So when you think about an event, recognize that the CMO and executives in your company really are seeing it as part of a bigger mix of omni-channel activities or integrated marketing activities. And you need to think about events the same way. Not that every event's not critical, but you need to then think about your event as a mini campaign. What are you doing before the event to attract the audience and make sure that they're going to your booth? What are you doing to make sure you're capturing their data in a meaningful way at the event and giving them an engagement that's going to move them from awareness to consideration at the same event? Maybe even get them to conversion again, depending on your product or your solution. And then what are you doing after the event, right? What are the touches that you're going to have afterwards? An event is a great place to capture a ton of content and then syndicate that content over time. You can have an
We
event
just
with
did
all
it.
this stuff. Yeah, exactly. Right. So
We
now
just
you've
did it.
got all
Yep.
these little sound bites you can use. You've got video you can use. You've got graphics. You've got photos. You've got customer stories you captured. All of that sort of stuff you can then use for other marketing touches over time. And by the way, if those marketing touches are successful, they can create micro events, right? Maybe there's a series of webcasts you do after the event because people seem to be interested in these 4 points that you had at the event. And there was a lot of stuff. So you need to go deeper, which brings me to when you're doing campaign thinking, you also need to understand what is the right information to share with your customer or prospect at the right time in the relationship. And by that, I like to use a dating analogy. If you're on a first date, the first question out of your mind, out of your mouth should not be, how many kids do you want to have? Right? It needs to be, tell me about yourself. Let's learn a little bit about each other. What kinds of music do you like? What do you like to eat? That sort of thing. So when you think about the event in that context, the first touch of an event, you want to learn more about them. You want to ask questions. If you go on a date and you're the one doing all the talking, you're not going to get a second date. If you're the person that asks questions and shows a genuine, authentic interest in those prospects and customers, they're going to remember that. They're going to feel seen. They're going to feel appreciated. And you'll get permission to have that next conversation about what your interests are. Who are you in? What are you into? What kinds of things do you like to do? And then you can start sharing a little bit of information about your solution and the benefits of it at a second event. Maybe the third event, you start talking about, all right, here are some specific things that we can do for you based on what we know about what your problems and solutions are, and so on. So think about events going from top of funnel to mid funnel to end of funnel to even on the back end, loyalty and advocacy, because you'll have some customer only events that are their user groups and that sort of thing, where you're trying to teach them how to use a product, teach them how to get more out of their relationship with you, have them become raving fans of your brand and your products and solutions. So it makes the front end of marketing easier for the other folks. So really, it's important to think about events as a touchstone in a total relationship. And then what's the kind of content and conversation you're going to have at each one of those touches.